So I have a champagne just to
Aha.
celebrate.
I just have Doliani, but go ahead. Which champagne?
Oh, this is Rose de Jeanne, Cédric Bouchard.
Oh, Cedric Bouchard, my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, so it's a favorite of everybody here. I mean,
I know that very well. Yeah.
it's fantastic. It's this is the Blanc de Blanc is Le Haut Lamblay, and is my wife's. Or the only way I can still flirt with my wife is
Okay.
thanks to this. So.
Okay.
And Giampi, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Arnais, a white wine from a young producer from Roero, from Priocca. He's a kind of new winemaker because he started just in 2016 to make wine, and this is his first vintage of Arnais, 2019. So it will be on the market just in September, but they gave me one bottle to taste and to try, so I'm very happy to be able to drink and to taste this wine.
Oh, great. There we are. Rose de Jean, Cedric Bouchard. Wonderful. I just have, mine is pretty good too. Mine is a Doliani from a little producer called Trediberri. There it is. 2019.
The new project, huh? You liked?
I like it very much. Let me ask you the first question, since we talked about that. Everybody knows you for Barolo and for Barbera and some other wines, but why did you decide to make Doliani? Why not Dolcetto?
It was by chance. It was by chance because a friend of ours, a really good friend of my dad, asked us to rent these 3 hectares in this vineyard in the southern part of Langhe, close to the Alps, called Vicoforte. And when we went there, I saw this vineyard. It's amazing. It's planted in 1958, 600 meters high above sea level. I don't know the feet, it's 600 meters. South exposed. Well, when I was there, I say, wow, this is a sort of a heaven. And so I cannot miss the chance to make a dolcetto. Then is our style of dolcetto. So only concrete, 12.8 of alcohol. It's a new project. I really wanted to, I think that making Doliani dolcetto with our style, concrete, pure, is, and then honestly, I love dolcetto. I love pane, salame, and dolcetto. This is my,
I do too. Giampiero, how about, I'm sure you love all 3 also, right?
Yeah, I love pane, salame, and Barolo from Trediberri.
but not in that order, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We got a lot of nice comments already. So John Rittmaster from California. Hello, John. Thank you. And Nicola, your friend Ofer says.
Ciao, Ofer.
Raffaele.
We're going to see, I think, in July. Yeah?
Okay.
Ofer, I know that with Manuel, you are coming in July.
Here's a comment from Manuel. He's drinking Trediberri Langhe Nebbiolo 2018.
Yeah, 18. Yeah, fantastic.
Wonderful. Giampiero, let me ask you first of all.
Scott Murphy. Ciao, Scott.
Okay. I think a lot of people here who are watching today, they know Nicola, they know his, I'm just going to call him Nick, if that's all right. That's what your friends call him. Right?
Nick is perfect, Nick.
Okay. Giampiero, I think most people here know the wines of Trediberri, and they may have met Nick. Several of our friends who are logged in today know him very well, but I'm not sure many people know you. I've been to your restaurant, but we didn't meet. It's probably been about 10 years. I've been there twice with a few different Roero producers. So could you tell me a little bit about your background, about your family's restaurant? And it's a 1-star Michelin, correct?
Yeah, we have 1 Michelin star since 2010, but we are still a very traditional restaurant. We have a small family restaurant. We are me, my father, and my mother. My mother, she is the chef, and my father is the front man. And we are quite old because the restaurant was opened by my grandfather and grandmother in 1956. And we are located in Priocca, a small town in the heart of Roero area. And well, I did the enologic school. After that, I decided that my future for sure was at the restaurant with my parents. But my mother and my father told me, before to start to work with us, you have to go out and try to work in some other restaurant. So at that point I was thinking, okay, I want to go in somewhere, but not here, not in Italy, to, well, obviously to improve my English, to learn something different. So first of all I went to London to work as a commis waiter in a restaurant, and then I went in Spain. And it was funny because in Spain I was working with the brother Adrià, with Ferran and Albert Adrià, but not in the front for the wine. I was working in the kitchen because in that moment I was thinking, okay, if my future will be at the restaurant, I have to learn also about how to work in the kitchen, because maybe in the future my mother want to, you know, to retire, to enjoy the life. So to be able to talk with my future chef, it means that I have to know, you know, the things. So I was working there as a not chef, as a cook. I was working in the kitchen, and then other experience always in the kitchen in Spain, in France, and then in the wine business, obviously in United States, in some winery in our area, just to, you know, to improve my knowledge about wine, food, and all the things about the restaurant business. Yeah, this is in 1 minute my story.
Okay. Nick, let's talk a little bit about your story, because I was reading on your website that you didn't study winemaking, and yet here you are, you know.
Unluckily.
So I'm going to put up a picture here from the website of the tray in Trediberri.
Yeah, when I was thinner. Look, I still now I have the beard in order to cover my double cheek, as you say, double chin, come si dice qua? Double, triple, quadruple chin. Yeah, but yes, but
that picture coming up, it's not coming up on my screen, but anyway.
No. I see it.
Right, so
yeah, that's right. I haven't studied enology, so I'm not. I don't have this background because my dad never wanted me to follow that path, or at least it was not his dream. My dad is the guy on the right. You see, you're really next to each other. You're really similar.
And
the other guy is our sorry.
Your father's name is Federico. See,
it's Federico, yeah, exactly. And he has been working for 50 years for Renato Ratti, for Pietro. Tom, you know really well Pietro, and he's a great guy. He's a very, very, very good friend, even brother of mine, and yeah. And then in 2000, I actually, one of the reasons of me being so obsessed by wine is because I started to work when I was around 15 at a wine shop in La Morra called Cantina Comunale, where the president, where the big, the CEO was Lorenzo Accomasso. And so basically, I've been working with Renzo for I think 12 years. And that was really fantastic. And thanks to him, I think I started to really fall in love with wine. And then I tried to major in economics, but actually what was not my what I was meant for too. And then I asked my dad to do something together in 2007. He accepted. We bought 5 hectares in a MGA, in a crew called Berry. The third partner that you saw in the picture joined us, and here we are, Trediberri. At the beginning, I just wanted to make grapes. I didn't have any idea to make wine, because wine was too difficult, stressful. So I wanted to really just to forget about finance, about being broker, about trading floor. Then, thanks to some guys, I have to mention them. There are 2 big guys that helped me. One is Romano Rodisuli from Switzerland, and the other guy is David Berry-Green from UK. They really backed up from the beginning us, and they helped us to grow. And now we are doing wine, and we are vinifying basically all the grapes that we are producing. So it's a happy ending story. Or not happy ending. I mean, there's still long ahead.
It isn't ended yet.
Happy end, yeah.
The rest is history, as they say. For those of you wondering why I have Nick and Giampiero today, it's not just, hey, I picked out a sommelier and Nick is a friend. It's just, I was a mutual friend of all of ours is Alison Carriega, who lives in Rome. She's from America, but ciao, Alison. Grazie a tutti. She suggested that these two are very, very good friends. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? I guess you said you have the two of you have a great love of Barolo and Burgundy. And do you want to talk about how you met and how those two wines brought you together?
Sure. I think I met for the first time him in La Morra, in l'Osteria Veglio. We had an appointment with some other friend, winemaker, passionate about wine. And we had a dinner together, tasting some wine. And I was impressed about, to be honest, impressed about Nick, especially because at that time I knew that he was a winemaker, but I didn't taste any wine from him. But during the dinner, I was impressed about his passion about wine, and especially about how he was tasting the wine. In my experience, normally when I saw a guy that is tasting the wine in a blind tasting and is doing a great job, he knows everything about the wine in a blind tasting, normally I always curious to taste this wine, because the winemaker that tastes the wine very well, normally they are doing a great wine. So we have a great time together. We taste many good wine. I can remember all the wine from that evening. And after that evening, we start to become friends little by little. I know that it just maybe two years. I don't remember if 2 or 3 years. But from that point, we start to talk a lot, to share opinions. So I'm very, very happy about that. And then I taste the wine, and obviously I said, okay, Nick, now you have to give me the location, all the wine that I need. So we are friends. So now I need your wine.
And then we also have to reference Stappato, because thanks to Jeroen and Jens and Luca Roagna that
I think the second and third time was one with Stappato from Belgium and one with Luca Roagna. Yeah. Always drinking and tasting wine and
enjoying the time. Cholesterol, yes.
Yeah.
Great. Next question. I know everybody who's heard about you knows about the great cellar that you have at the restaurant, and you tell us a little bit about that. I know Nick was telling me just before we came on that you've been putting a lot of wines away, wines that you could have sold maybe 5-6 years ago. You've been holding on to those, and which I think is great. But give us a, it doesn't have to be 1 minute. You can go into great detail, but tell us about the cellar, how many wines you have down there, what you specialize in, what can people go down and take a look at the cellar, all of that.
In this moment, in our wine, because I always divide our wine list from our cellar. Because in this moment we still have on the wine list around 900 label, wow. Different label and different vintage, obviously. But I think in September I already do the new wine list that is almost 5 times with more or less 1,900 label. Because when I was 23 years old, I start to talk a bit more with my father about what he did for the cellar, what he did for his job, and I start to be really in love with this job. So I start to say, okay, now is my time. So I have to buy obviously every year the wine, but I have to start to collect and to build another great wine list. So the only way was, for my opinion, to go around to taste wine and to say, okay, now I buy not 24 bottles. I try to do my best to invest money and to buy not maybe 60, 72 bottles, and to keep all these bottles in the cellar. Because I think it's also nice when the customer come in a restaurant, in this particular case in Centro, and to have the opportunity to taste the history of our land. So if they want to taste the 16, obviously is here. But if they want to taste 1982, 1989, 1986, 2006, is a great opportunity for a customer to taste the history and the evolution of our philosophy, our history. And so from that point, I start to collect wine. And at the beginning, I was saying, okay, now I start, and then I collect wine for 5 years, and then I go out with the wine list. But every year I was postponed the final date, and this year I go out with what I did in the last 9 years. Not just Piedmont wine. Well, the 90% of our salary is about Piedmont, so Barolo, Barbaresco, and Roero, obviously.
Okay.
But I have also a small part, probably 10-15% about Burgundy, Tuscany, obviously Emilia-Romagna, and some Bordeaux and some Riesling. Also because it could be strange, because some people they think, okay, you are in the beautiful place for wine, so you don't need to buy other grape, other wine, other label. But we live in a place full of winemaker, and especially the young winemaker. They are interested to taste many different wines. So it is a good opportunity for the winemaker when they come here and they find all the wine from Burgundy, from Bordeaux, from Tuscany. And normally I collect more Burgundy because Pinot Noir or Tuscany Sangiovese is more similar to Nebbiolo. So most of the winemaker, they want to not compare, but taste side by side these three grape. So okay. I prefer to collect, also because I have to choose the investment. I cannot buy everywhere all the winemakers, so I have to choose some area. In this case, these 3 or 4 area, and try to give the same opportunity. So to give you the opportunity to taste young vintage or also old vintage. So this was my idea, and the reason why I start to collect wine. And this year, I think in September, October, I will go out with a new old wine list.
Good, great. And you do have some champagne, right? You didn't mention champagne, but you have to have
champagne. Okay. Absolutely champagne.
All right.
Yeah. But Tom,
what is this?
You have to ask Giampiero the first time he went to Burgundy, because it's really a nice, funny story, actually.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. The first time was, I think I was 22 years old. After the enology school, after the sommelier course, I went in, I said, okay, now it's time to go to Burgundy. Maybe it was too late, but I said, okay, 22 years old, I know about wine, so I go to Burgundy without any appointment. So I go there, I went there and said, okay, now I start, tomorrow I will be there. I talk, every single seller, I try to go get in and ask the wine. And the first day, and it was around 9 o'clock, my first winery was La Romane Conti. Oh. So I do the same, talk, and Annabelle, the secretary, he was telling me, yes, and I was saying, okay, I'm Giampiero, I would like to taste the wine, to visit the winery. And the answer was, absolutely, yes. Do you have any appointment? I said, no, I don't have any appointment. And she told me, I'm so sorry, but we cannot accept you. And in my mind, I was thinking, okay, I was unlucky, it was the first time. But then, for all day long, I did the same in every single cell, and nobody accepted me, no one. So in the evening, I was so sad. But then, one day after, so the morning, I said, okay, now I try again. And I went at 9 o'clock in the morning to Rousseau. I went to Rousseau, I did the same, talk, and I'm not sure if it was Cyrielle or his father, but he opened the cancel and he told me, do you have an appointment? No, he told me, you are a bit late. I said, okay, sorry about that. And he told me, you are alone? I said, okay, yeah, I am alone. Okay, come in. And I did a wonderful tasting, 1 hour, 1 hour 30 alone. And I was so impressed because, 1 hour 30 in Rousseau, I was so happy.
Great.
And, I was like, the first visit in Burgundy, I was 22 years old. I was tasting Chambertin, Clos de Bèze. And in my mind, he opened my mind, and I was thinking, okay, now I have to improve my knowledge about Burgundy, because I cannot say, okay, there is a little bit difference, small difference between this wine, this 2, 3, 10 wine. I have to know more. After that visit, I went to walk a little bit in the vineyard of La Romane Conti in front of the man.
Okay.
And I met 2 guys, I think from Sweden, and they were drinking a bottle of champagne. So I was talking with, okay, how are you? Where are you from? And they were so angry because they had an appointment at 9 o'clock with Rousseau, but someone took his appointment. So I made a mistake, but I didn't know that. So I would say, okay, wow, this is a really bad story. So this is my first time in Burgundy. So from that time, I start to, to try to study, to find a way to be able to visit the winery. And I did the same also in Piedmont, because I understood that it was so important to visit the winery in Piedmont, in Burgundy, in Tuscany, to be in touch with the winemaker, to become friend, to understand more.
Yes.
So this was probably the first open mind that I had in my life about wine.
You don't think the producers in Burgundy turned you away because you were from Italy, do you?
Could be. I'm not sure about that, but
the French and Italians always get along, right? So.
Good question, Tom. Good question.
All right. One question, and then I'll go back to you for some recommendations. But what is the situation now with the restaurant? Are you open yet, or when will you open?
No, we are still closed. Well, the restaurant could be open from last Saturday.
Okay.
But they knew about the new opening just a few days before, so we were not ready. So I decided with my family to open next Friday. Many restaurants they already open. They open on Saturday, but most of that restaurant they were doing delivery. So they were a kind of more ready than us. So they started last Saturday. And I was talking with some of them, and they were so happy because many people asked for the reservation. The restaurant was quite full. I mean, because now with the restriction, not all the restaurant can do the same number of customers like before. But the important thing is that, the people call and they want to go out, they want to drink wine and to eat. So this is the important thing. And from next Friday, we start also in Il Centro.
Terrific. Okay. Let me go back to Nick for a second here. And
yeah,
I'm going to put up a picture from your website of your land. Tell us about the Morra.
Ugly place, eh? Ugly place to live in.
Was that Clay that took the photo?
No, actually it's Tino Gerbaldo, but now with Clay, it's
an outstanding photo.
But then you can do as well. So next time you're a great photographer, that. So
I'm not sure.
Tom, next time I'm gonna give you the same spot, and then you're gonna stay there for 3 nights, eating and drinking just Barolo and eating just grapes. And then you're gonna wait for that clouds, and this is gonna make your picture. Okay. So
as long as I have a nice place to sleep for 3 nights, I'll do it. Okay.
Yeah, no, a tent. I put you a tent, and
right,
I give you a tent. And no, but
molto gentile, signore.
Sorry.
Molto gentile, signore.
Molto gentile, nice, very kind. Yes. But then you see, how can you not fall in love with Barolo, with our area, if you see something like this, This is La Morra. You see up there the village, and then down you see Vigna Boiolo, and then going down on the right you see that white house. Well, it is starts to be Rocca dell'Annunziata. Then there is a road at the farthest right down. That is the heart of Rocca dell'Annunziata. So starting from up to down, then you see on your left Paolo Scavino, Nicola Oberto, then Bartolo Mascarello, and then on your right you have Renato Corino, Aurelio VII, Guerzio, and then Trediberri. And the small hamlet you see on the right, this is Borgato Torriglione, where we have our winery. And I'm really proud. The proudest thing I can see in this picture is the landscape, whatever, but it's the wood actually. The wood I have just below on our winery. This is a very interesting story. I don't usually tell it, but
go ahead.
My grandmother made my father to sign a contract in order not to cut the trees, the wood down there, And my dad also obliged me not to cut the wood down there, even if it's south exposed. So, you know, when you have a south slope in Barolo, that is meant to be Nebbiolo and Barolo. But then we need also truffles, and we have some very old oaks, and it's fantastic to have this wood down there. But really, this picture made me, it's really moving, no, in a way. It looks like a painting from the romantic painter like Turner from or Constable from England.
Yes, yes.
And it makes me so happy that also, Tom, you have decided that you agreed on inviting Giampiero, because Giampiero really, for me, represents what, you know, us producers, we are nothing without people helping us to promote, to distribute, to sell our products. You know, you can make the best wine in the world, but if you don't have people who understand these and know how to share these with other people, and in an easy way, in a more popular way, well, we are zero. So I'm so happy to have this webinar with you and Giampi, because you know, Giampiero is really a precious person in the sense that he's already, but he will become for sure in 5-10 years even a bigger reference point in the gastronomy of Piedmont, and you know how important is Piedmontese gastronomy. So
of course, well, that's great, and we have many people.
Nick is always so kind.
Nick, I was going to say that I've seen the names of all the people that are attending today, and there's restaurateurs, there's Barolo lovers, so I think I can safely, you know, thank you on their behalf as well. That, you know,
I've also seen John Master. Yeah, I have to say that this dolcetto comes from the vineyard of Massimo Martinelli. So
that's
John,
right.
we know exactly what we're talking about, and
yeah,
it's an amazing vineyard. You
John
believe,
told me about the Barolo that Massimo makes now. So
yeah, also the Barolo. Yeah, it's fantastic. The Barolo Letterari is fantastic. Yeah. It's, you know, Massimo Martinelli and my dad has always been very good friends, and I always been growing up with the idea, with the friendship of Massimo as a big uncle, and you know, he has the talent. Massimo Martinelli has the talent to bring some poetry, some lyrics to Barolo, to wine, and that's why I love him so much, and that's why when we had the chance, we decided to help him by vinifying these fantastic wines from Vicoforte, from Dogliani, making this wine that you are tasting, Tom. It's 12.8 of alcohol, so it's a really easy to drink dolcetto, but you have the juiciness, no, the freshness of what dolcetto should be. You're really missing a salami, and then you could get a perfect aperitivo, right?
Absolutely, absolutamente. So, Giampiero, I'm going to switch back to you, and since Nick said all these fantastic things about you, which I assume are true, but I'm going to make you go to work now. Make you go to work for a few minutes. I'm going to take a few pictures off your website of some of the plates from your restaurant, and I'm going to show them, and I want you to tell us what they are and what wine you would recommend with that. So we will start with, we will start with this. Tell us what we're looking at and what you would recommend, what wine or wine.
So normally, in 2 weeks we will go out also with the new website, because this one is quite old. But with these courses is not so easy, because with the asparagus is not so easy to match wine. But in that period, I remember that we were matching this food with Royal Arnaise, because it's just a little bit warm, but is going very well with the Arnaise. For example, it's going very well with what I'm drinking. So because normally the Royal Arnaise, the white wine that we are producing in our area, is a really good wine, but really fresh, really entry-level wine. This particular one that I'm drinking is doing a bit of maturation with the skin, so he have a little bit more structure. So it can also match it with food a little bit with more structure, with more rich food.
Okay, let's show something else here. How about this dish?
So this is a mix of vegetable that we start to do these courses. I think in 2007, when we start to build our garden. So not this year, because with this lockdown we were not able to make all the job in the garden, but we have around 4,000 meters planted with all vegetable, with flower, with herbs, and every single chef is planted the herbs and the vegetable that he need for the courses. So this was the first, I think was the first dishes with just vegetable homemade. Yeah.
Tom, can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Here you see why Italian food is so good, because there's nothing else than the raw material. So this is why our food is amazing, because that tomato, it's unique because it's made in Italy.
Right.
And so we don't need to cover it with sauces, with cream. It's like wine. The same thing. We don't have to cover with the makeups. We have to bring those things as pure as possible on a dish.
I agree.
I think is our philosophy for sure, but I think also the philosophy of Nick and with most of the winemaker now, they are doing like that, just not cover the wine, be natural. I mean, just to to express what they land and the grape they are doing. That's it, nothing more. And this is the thing unique that we have here in Piedmont, and there are also in other regions. But just to give the customer the possibility to taste what our land is making.
And thank you. And what you didn't mention which wines you would pair with that dish.
That's right.
It's okay.
Well, this is not so easy. I think for the freshness, for what I feel, just looking at the dishes, I will stay still with white wine. Maybe not the rare maize, something more easy, more fresh, like Favorita. But probably we stay with still white wine, not red.
Okay.
Because a great Barbera from Roero, great Roero, maybe it's too much for the taste that you can find, you can feel in these dishes.
But Tom, next time you come to Piedmont, I bring you, it's a promise deal, to them in order to have the best white rabbit, lepre, you can have anywhere in the world.
I love rabbit, so that'd be great. Yeah.
There's no pairing there. You can drink anything, but then it's not what you are drinking, it's what you're eating that is fantastic. So
great. Thank you. This next one is the greatest photo, one of the great food photos I've ever seen, and it makes my mouth water just looking at this. That just looks amazing. That looks amazing.
So
tell us about this and tell us about the wines you would choose.
So here, no discussion, we go ahead with a great Roero, a great Nebbiolo. And for my opinion, I always prefer to stay with the meat, to taste the Roero with the meat, and maybe the Barbera with the pasta, with the ragu. This is a little bit complicated because there is the sauce, the sauce that we use in that courses was very rich, and you can feel a little bit of sweetness. So it's not normally so easy, because when you feel in a courses the sweetness, normally I prefer to match the Barbera. But in this particular case, I prefer to match a good Roero, maybe coming from a warm vintage, so with more, more body, more structure, not necessarily with a good acidity. That doesn't need this good acidity. So with a good Roero, from a warm vintage. Could be 2009. I said 2009 probably because I like also the warm vintage, but in the Roero area I prefer when the vintage could be also warm, but I don't like when it's dry because we have more sandy soil in this area. So when the vintage is dry, you know, the wine is not an easy vintage. When it's just cold, we can produce also a great Roero, more rich. So something that we can match with these courses.
Okay, and a question, I should know this, but I know I see spinaci there, but the red vegetable in the back is what?
The red?
Yes.
Is made with, the sauce is made with black garlic. Black garlic is not something strange for us because we produce black garlic just 20 minutes from our restaurant. So it's a sauce made with black garlic. But in the black garlic, you can feel the sweetness. So it's not so easy to match with Nebbiolo normally.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with black garlic. That's interesting. So, and in the back of the picture, the red vegetable is what?
Is beetroots. Beetroots.
Okay.
Red beetroots.
All right, thank you. And I think we have one more here.
Yeah.
We'll get back to Nick. Yeah, here we are.
This is a very, 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 one of my favorite.
Explain what it is.
This is Testina. Testina. I don't know the translation in English. This is
I think everybody knows what it is.
This is Testina. In this particular case, was the head of the veal, not of the pork, because we do testina di maiale, testina di vitello.
Okay.
And this is a very, very traditional courses, very rich, and again is not easy because it's very fat, but the sauce is made with vinegar and garlic. So here there are many philosophy, many people that can say, no, I prefer to taste, but is a very rich courses. I know that there is a lot of vinegar, but I prefer with these courses taste Barbera, a big Barbera, a very big Barbera. Well, with warm vintage again and very rich and yeah. For my opinion, is the best things. Also because Barbera have a great acidity, but have a great structure, great noise, so it can manage the structure of the dish.
Okay.
You know, Tom, testina is one of the biggest element of the bollito misto, of the mixed boiled meat.
Okay.
That we do in Caru. It's really a pride of Piemontese cuisine. Huh?
I'd always take your word for it because I've never had it, and I'm not going to.
If I tell you where it comes from, it's a bit. It can be a bit difficult to, but it's traditional here.
Giampiero or Nicola, here's a question from Reginald Solomon, and Giampiero, you talked about this a little bit. He said, "Do you think Roero shows better in warmer or cooler vintages?" Thinking that the cooler vintages give more acidity, which Roero is not known for. What is your answer to that?
Absolutely. So, in my taste, in my opinion, I always prefer the Nebbiolo when it comes from a cold vintage. Could be Barbaresco, could be Roero, could be Barolo. In the Roero area. Normally, also if the vintage is warm, I don't care. For me, could be also very good. When the problem, for my opinion, is when the vintage is very dry. I know that we are not famous for the acidity. Also for the Roero Arnais, the white wine that we produce, the acidity is not very high, and the pH is not so good for the age. But we can still produce a great Roero also in the warm vintage. Normally, I said always the Roero or Barbaresco in the warm vintage are more approachable. What I do in my cellar when I have to buy wine in the warm vintage, I buy a little bit less in the cold vintage, I buy more because I put normally in the wine list, but I keep a lot in the cellar because for sure when the vintage is very cold, you know, the acidity is better. So probably the age will be better. But every single vintage is nice because it's a photograph. You can, when you taste a vintage, could be 2003 that was very warm, could be 2002. That 2002 in Piedmont was probably one of the more difficult vintage that we have because a lot of rain, a lot of. But it's always also interesting to taste because when you taste, for example, you can compare 2002 and 2004. When you open a bottle, probably you can feel more freshness in a 2002 because it was colder, was with more rain, which is the point that in 2002 you can never find the balance that you can find in a 2004. Probably when you taste 2004, you say, okay, this is younger, but look older, but you find the balance. For me, from my opinion, when you taste the wine, is not so important, it look younger or older, but if you find the balance. And the balance arrives from the grape. And so to make a great grape, you need, hard work from the winemaker, but a good vintage.
Thank you. I love that answer because for you to compare 2002 with 2004, I mean, almost anyone who knows those vintages would say, well, come on, 2002 was not a very good vintage. 2004 was a wonderful vintage, and you wouldn't even compare the two. So that's great to get your insight. I appreciate that. So, Nick, I have a question for you from your friend Manuel, and we know that the current, the current Barolo vintage is 2016, which is an outstanding vintage. Manuel wants to know your thoughts about the upcoming Barolo vintages, 2017, 18, and 19. What are you expecting?
16 is amazing for one simple reason, because it's on average. So, if you go on our website, I try almost every year, I try to update it, to update some graphs.
Yes, those are really helpful. Those are great. Thank you.
How is the actual temperature of the year with respect to the last decade? It shows you the variance, so the difference between the average and the actual temperature. Why is this so important? Because you can understand that the work of the job of a producer, of a wine grower, is basically to forecast the weather. So if you do something in your vineyard like leaf pulling, and then it's going to be a hot summer, well, the risk is burning.
Right.
Instead, so it's always a part of gambling. That's why when you have an average vintage, average means spring as it should be spring, summer as it should be summer, and very simple.
Okay.
There are the best vintages. 16 was amazing, also because October was perfect. We harvested in berry on Halloween. We finished to harvest in Halloween.
Wow.
But the pH there at the harvest was 3.3, so very low.
Okay.
So when you have this low pH, you get the verticality. So good. You create such a lingering finish. But then because you harvest so late, then also the malic acid is lower, so you get a perfect ripeness that also gives you a width within your mouth. I've always been enthusiastic about this idea. Everybody knows that I always tell this: weightless, powerful. Barolo must be weightless and powerful.
Interesting.
But not powerful of extraction, powerful of interest. That also a lot given on the vertical dimension. In 17 was one of the driest vintage of the last 20 years. Maybe you don't know which one was the driest. It's 2006, not 2003.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
the ranking is 2006, the driest. 2006, 17, second driest. 2003, third driest. 2017 was really dry and also a bit warmer than average, especially at the beginning. So the big issue is that we had a lot of skins and no pulp. So the big challenge was to keep the pH low and to get drinkability through the acidity and freshness. We didn't leaf pull at all in 2017, and I think also the cover crop helped us to keep the soil quite fresh. And I think we got a really good result in 17. 18 for Trediberri. 18 is going to be a very controversial vintage. In Trediberri, for us, was really difficult. We made a lot of sorting, but then honestly, the grapes from Berry are not the level that I would like to achieve. I try to do my best, and we still don't know if we're going to produce Barolo or not. The wine is good, it's fresh, but it doesn't have the spine that could find like in 14, or as we said, some 2002 have the spinal that gives you the idea of Barolo. In Trediberri, 18 from Berry, from the Classico, really made me be really a lot of work, let's say, a lot of effort.
Okay.
Instead, Rocca dell'Annunziata is amazing. 18 is amazing. It's a bit lighter than 17, but it's really lovely and has the spine and the dignity to be a Barolo for sure. 19 is fantastic. 19 is amazing. 19 is terrific. 19 is whatever you want to do, it is. 19 was healthy. Was the skins and pulp was perfectly balanced. So you have a wine which is big but long, so vertical. The Nebbiolo, we just bottled 19 Nebbiolo. Buy it, drink it. You're gonna see how 19 Barolo can be from our Langhe Nebbiolo 19. 19 is gonna be outstandingly amazing.
Oh, that's great. What about 2020? How are the vineyards looking right now? How is your growing season coming along?
We had 10 days, 2 weeks ago of rainfall. We were really in difficult moments. We had to hand treat once, but now we survived that downy mildew attack, and now it's sunny, and we are anticipating I think 10 to 12 days. Hopefully the rainfalls slowed a bit. Before we were much more in advance. Now I think the difference, the gap is going to be a bit smaller. But so far there's a huge quantity. So now we are in flowering, which is still very stressful for a producer because it's a moment where you cannot treat with copper because the risk is to burn, is to destroy the flowers. So if it's like this, sunny and warm, it's perfect for 1 week. Then it can rain a bit more. But now the soil is full of water. So we have water for at least until August. We have enough water. So if it doesn't rain, for us is enough. You know, Tom, that for us, one rainfall in July is enough to be good for the entire summer. Like in 2016, we have one big, on the 27th, we have one big storm, but that was really good for making the vintage great as it was.
Right, okay. Well, fingers crossed for great years. So here's one question, Nick, for you. This is from Robert Bourdignon. You mentioned this a little bit, but I'll follow up on his question. He wants to know, what does dolcetto mean to you?
Pane e salame, bread and salami.
Okay.
And it's really something that I want to stress, because again, it's a question of dolcetto. When I smelled fermenting dolcetto, I really had this idea of juiciness, of salivate. You know, I'm salivating, and so when you have let's put in the fridge. Outside there's 30 degrees. I don't know how many Celsius Fahrenheit, but let's say 30 Celsius. You put in your fridge. You pour 1 glass of dolcetto. You don't have a headache. You just have a pleasure. It's hedonism. And I really wanted to be as strict as possible. It's 12.8 of alcohol, nothing more. It comes from very old vines, 1958, in a south exposed vineyard, 600 meters above sea level, just below the Alps. Honestly, I'm so happy. And even if I have problems to sell it, I will drink it. It's really one of those wines. From 3 hectares, we did around 8,000 bottles. Other 5,000 liters we used for Rosato. And it was our first approach with Dolcetto. But then 19 was a very good vintage, as I told, so we were lucky. but really, fermenting in concrete, it fermented for 12 days. We finished, malo in concrete as well, then cold stabilized outside in stainless steel, and then bottled. That's it. As pure, as easy as it is.
Well, I want to thank
you.
I'm sorry, Giampiero?
Sorry. The alcohol degree in your Dolcetto, normally, the range?
No, normally it's my first vintage, in my first year.
So was it 12 point?
12.8. I put 13 on the label, yeah, but it's a bit lower. Yeah. And of course, maybe next the more I can get more used to those vineyards, maybe I can have more agronomic knowledge in order to try to have a bit more of sugar. That means I don't want to have, but a bit more of sugar means maybe 1-2 days more of maceration. That means maybe a bit more of extraction, so a bit more interest. But I was so well impressed by the 19. Was so simple to vinify the Dolcetto that I'm in love. And my wife Stefania didn't want to make Dolcetto.
Really?
And then when she tasted it, said, no, we're gonna do it for
You changed your mind. Scott Murphy here says he's super excited about your Doliani. And my friend Anna Savino, ciao Anna, come stai?
Ciao Anna.
She says she can't wait to try it.
This is pane salame, rose de jam, and Dolcetto di Doliani, ok?
Perfetto. Allora, Giampiero, per i nostri amici italiani che stanno guardando oggi, ho una domanda in italiano. Va bene?
Va bene.
Ti chiederò prima in italiano e poi in inglese. Puoi rispondere allo stesso modo? Fatta così. E quali annate di Barolo, Barbaresco e Roero ti piacciono di più nel ristorante e perché? Which vintages of Barolo, Barbaresco, and Roero do you most enjoy recommending at the restaurant and why?
Allora, io penso sul Roero, una delle annate che mi affascina di più e che mi piace di più assolutamente è il 2016. 2016 per sicuramente le stesse ragioni che diceva Nicola prima, ma anche perché nel 2016 io trovo che ci sia stato anche, abbiamo avuto la fortuna di avere delle grandi escursioni termiche, delle belle escursioni termiche settembre-ottobre. Già il Roero è di solito forse più famoso per il suo terreno più sabbioso, quindi il naso che tende più alla frutta. E l'annata 2016 consente sicuramente con questa grossa escursione termica dal punto di vista organolettico un impatto molto più importante, quindi mi piace molto, sempre non perdendo di eleganza, perché io dico sempre bisogna ricordarsi che il Roero non è mai da confrontare col Barolo e il Barbaresco, bisogna sempre vederlo come una cosa diversa, un passaggio diverso, una cosa più fine, più sussurrata, più elegante. Per quanto riguarda Barolo e Barbaresco dipende sicuramente dalle zone, però io sono innamorato di annate un po' più difficili, un po' più dure, come possono essere ad esempio la 2008. 2008 è stata un'annata molto molto fredda, molto rustica, il tannino non sembra ancora oggi tante volte non dover maturare, però è un vino che mi intriga moltissimo, un'annata che mi intriga moltissimo è la 2008. Sul Barbaresco rimarrai su annate classiche come la 2010 e la 2013, annate composta ma annate non troppo calde, annate tradizionali le definirei. So, now I have to say in English?
You don't have to, but it would be nice, yes.
Okay, try. Because you know that my English is like rubbish, so I try to do my best, but in Italian is better. Well, I prefer as a Roero the 2016 vintage, because for sure for all the reason that Nicola told before, but also because the temperature range in September, October was very, very interesting. So the up and down give the wine, you know, a lot of things for the noise. So for sure, for the 2006 Roero, normally the Roero area with more sandy soil have, you know, the fragrance, the noise is unique with more fruit. With the Vintage 16 is outstanding. For Barolo, for sure, one of the vintages that I find more interesting is the 2008, that I know that was very cold and were very, I don't know in English, rustic vintage, because the tannin they are still not ready. The acidity was very high, but remind me the old Barolo. And instead for Barbaresco, I prefer the classic vintage, like 2010, 2013. Well, not classic like 1996, that was cooler. But, 2010 and 13 for me, for Barbaresco, are the best. Also 14 is very interesting. 14 for Barbaresco is a really nice vintage. Many journalists said that was not a big vintage, but in the future could be interesting to taste 14 compared to, for example, 15.
I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart for that comment, because I had this discussion with people say, how can you like 14? I said, because it's a classic vintage, because it's got structure, it's got acidity.
Exactly.
And I talked with, one of your colleagues, Luca Corrado from Vieti, and he says, this is what, Nebbiolo likes. It's a cool vintage. And he thought the wines he worked with his father, or he drank with his father, like 61 and 74, that they were reminiscent of that. And that 2014 is very special vintage, and it should not be dismissed.
But it was the same if you look in the past. If you compare 1996, 1997, the 1997 was considered at the beginning a big vintage, better than 1996. But if right now you take the two glasses, you see that the 1996 probably is still a baby. It's a wine that I prefer to keep in the cellar, and I prefer to pour the 97, not because it's better or not better, just because in this time is more approachable, is ready. 1996 is more for investment, as investment. I keep in the cellar and is drinkable for the other, I think, 20, 30 years. And then it depends the area, the kind of vinification, many things. But normally it's like that. And 14 would be, I think, the same, because it was not that difficult like 2002. 2014, there was a lot of rain, but was not like 2002. And the same is 2007 compared to 2003. 2007 was warm, very warm, but not into compared to 2003.
Right.
2003 was very warm and very dry. So we will see in the future.
Okay. Nick, we have about 3 minutes left. This is so much fun. I don't, if they shut us off, they shut us off. We're going to go a few minutes beyond the hour, but I'd like to ask you a question in Italian, if you could respond also in Italian and English. Pardon my pronunciation, but come dovrebbe essere commercializzato Barolo oggi per i nuovi consumatori?
Dry, secco. Uno dei grossi problemi che io trovo è questo, cioè abbiamo parlato molte volte. One of the big problems, the big issue I found is this one that I'm going to tell you now. Abbiamo parlato molte volte in questa webinar di bevibilità. We said so many times in this webinar drinkability. Il problema è capire cos'è la drinkabilità, cos'è la bevibilità. The problem is to understand what is drinkability.
Okay.
Perché bevibilità per noi geek è un discorso, per la casalinga che beve un bicchiere di Barolo e si aspetta di bere un Amarone è un altro. For us, geeks, drinkability means something. For the housewife watching opera, having a glass of Barolo, drinkability is another thing. And maybe she expects to have a bigger, wider wine. Why? Because Barolo is considered the king of wines, and so king must be big. Kings must be to remember. Perché il Barolo è considerato il re dei vini? Allora, perché è il re dei vini, allora deve essere grosso, deve essere lungo, deve essere una bomba a orologeria. It must be a bomb. I tried to explain before, the vertical dimension, the lingering finish is what makes Barolo one of the best wines in the world. Barolo, Barbaresco, Roero. Ho provato a dirlo prima, è la dimensione verticale, la sapidità, la lunghezza che rende il Nebbiolo di Langa e Roero uno dei più grandi vitigni del mondo. Without the lingering, when the tannins are ripe, without the lingering, only an explosion in the mouth would make a wine. Yes, it's big. Wow, it's big. But then you wouldn't drink I've drunk almost 3/4 of the bottle of Rose de Jean. Why? Because he has this acidity. In this his mid-weight character, he has such a vertical dimension that makes you drink the entire bottle. So this is how we have to drink to promote Barolo. A wine that can be drunk easily. Why? Because it's not only, it doesn't have to be big, but it has to be interesting. So let's say like this,
Yes.
secco, dry, so not sugar, not a sugar bomb, not with sugar with a big residual in order to increase the width, but very interesting, so very long. It stays in your mouth for 3.5 minutes. And then I stop. But for me, some of the greatest wines I've always been drinking are the wines that are so light in color, but so long in your mouth that makes you think this is a masterpiece. So the color of Barolo is so light, but the length of a Barolo can be so long that this makes Barolo and Barbaresco Nebbiolo vinify at this level so incredibly amazing.
That's a great answer. I got a comment earlier from Sandro Minella. He was drinking a Grignolino, and we've had some at lunch. The same thing. It's so light and delicate, but it's so fresh and drinkable and delicious. So this
also
is
because, and let me tell you just this: more people. If we think Barolo and Barbaresco are posh, then we put young people outside from drinking Barolo and Barbaresco. Instead, we have to be inclusive. We have to try to get young guys come to us. So we have to say, come and drink Barolo and Barbaresco, because at the end, they are just wine and they can be really enjoyable from the beginning.
I agree. Thank you. There's a few more questions for Nick, but we're out of time. So to Manuel and Robert, I'll forward those to Nick. Please say hi, Stefania, for me. This was so much fun, and we get to see who you really are. And I think people, instead of being a technical thing about Barolo and Barbera and everything, we get to learn your thoughts about wine and food pairing. Giampiero, it was great to meet you. Fantastic comments. I hope everybody enjoyed your comments as well. And good luck with the reopening of the restaurant next Friday. So, and thanks to everybody for tuning in today. This was a lot of fun. It's a shame we didn't have 2 hours, but ciao, Nick, ciao, Giampiero.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Okay.
Ciao.
Ci vediamo presto.
Sì. Ci vediamo presto, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.